Alright guys, welcome to episode 2 of Coffee Machine. I'm Matt.
I'm Giorgio.
And I'm Andrew.
And today, we are going to be reviewing a coffee today.
Yeah, we all have the same exact coffee. It's okay.
It's not too terrible.
Definitely something you would see in a hotel room.
Yep, yeah.
And
we have the classic roast.
It is Walmart classic roast.
Great value.
Great value brand. What does that run you? About $2.50?
I think it might be $1.99.
$1.99.
Yeah.
What a deal!
Get your caffeine fix for cheap.
It doesn't taste the greatest, but it'll get the job done.
It'll get the job done.
Yeah.
It'll get the job done. So
brew it nice and strong. Get your 300 milligram of coffee.
Yeah, you gotta
caffeine.
You gotta get that. You gotta get that.
So
it's what runs on. It's what we run on.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we run on.
Tactical tip for this coffee: refrigerate after opening to preserve the freshness.
Yeah.
Oh!
Mind blown. So today we're gonna we have a few really good topics today. Being the kind of a newbie podcast that we're trying to be, we're gonna start straight on into starting modeling. That's what our first topic is going to be today.
That was one thing I kind of had, just starting into the game, didn't know where to go. I just dumped this when I didn't even know the models were disassembled when I first got them. So
yeah, that was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
I for some reason expected them to be all just
in one
ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah. My first experience with modeling was I was 10, so this is 1996, and my dad brought me home a second edition D&D rulebook and this little box of miniatures. And I picked up the miniatures and they were just in pieces, and I immediately started yelling and kind of complaining because they were broken. I was like, what is this?
Did you buy this at Goodwill?
like, Dad, these are all broken. What do I do? But thankfully my dad used to be a fairly proficient guy about building model cars and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he taught me exactly what we're going to teach you today when it comes into assembling your first models.
Yeah.
So when you buy a brand new kit out of the factory, they have this stuff that we can't see, but it's silicone mold. So it has all of this stuff that helps the mold. It helps the miniature pop out of the mold, so it has this gelled silicone. Mm-hmm. And you got to get that off of the miniatures so your glue and your paint can stick to it.
Yeah, I learned that kind of the hard way. Trying to glue stuff together. It's just
not working.
Not holding. Yeah.
So I would suggest getting some Dawn or some Palmolive or something like that, and a toothbrush, and just getting some lukewarm water and just scrubbing them down. First things first. Easy peasy.
I even let mine sit for, sometimes 15, 20 minutes. I'll make a little bath, put a little soap in the bottom of a bowl or something, put that warm water in there, let it get a little sudsy. Then I'll dump all the miniatures that I'm putting together for that round into that, and then I'll cap it off with a little bit of water. Again, fill it up a little bit more and let them soak, for a little bit to try and help that off. And then move straight to the toothbrush afterwards.
Another option that I've had work, now you can't do this with swords and stuff, so anything pokey, but get you some Tupperware, make a bath, and just like this, just shake it in your Tupperware.
Yeah.
And that will do the same thing if you're not into the toothbrush kind of thing. And plus then you're not trying to toothbrush these little spindly bits,
that can be a pain.
You can just let the water do it for you. The second thing I would suggest doing is flash removal. That's very important to get all of the little spindly things off of your flash. You'll see maybe a sword, and then at the end is this little weird jutted piece of metal, and you're like, what the hell is that?
Is that a spike?
Is that a spike? Because that looks really stupid.
Oh God, I just broke it.
Yeah.
I went through that a couple times.
So you can either do it two ways. Just take your finger and just pop that off, and then just take an X-Acto knife and just kind of scrape off the little dimple that's left off.
Yeah.
To shave down the little dimple.
The rest of it.
Also with your X-Acto knife, any kind of you'll see this a lot in jacks a lot. So you'll have a ball joint, and then you'll have the other piece of the ball joint that's inside of the jack. Take your X-Acto knife, make a few slightly deep gashes on your ball joint and on the inside. That way when you glue your model together, the glue will adhere better, and then you won't have your jack just popping off on the part.
And a lot of things I've noticed too now that pretty decent majority, at least with the privateer press models, have gone to the resin. You'll have these little tiny, and we'll show you a little bit later on.
Yeah.
They kind of look funky. You almost think it's what slides into like a socket on the model, like he was saying. But they are actually just completely from the mold, and they need to be removed.
It's where the injectors has injected into it, and normally there's a little bite that bites off that injector and then pops it off.
Gets rid of it.
But that's where it didn't bite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I know Zoll, Epic Zoll, that I just put together not too long ago. He had a couple of those on him.
We should talk about Parts Portal.
Oh yeah, could get into that. He was missing his sole. He had his staff in his left arm and everything, but his right arm with the sole, brand new, straight from Gen Con.
This thing you were putting together the other day.
Yeah.
Playing the game. Okay.
You want to play the game? Yeah, there is a Parts Portal that you can go to if you are missing some pieces. Just go to privateerpress.com, go to their store, and then you'll see a little Parts Portal button, and just click on that to send them a quick email, and they'll send you your part out free of charge without shipping.
Yeah, it's totally fine. And they don't even, they used to have like they still have it on there, the option to put it in, because you still receive older models a lot of times, but there used to be a little ticket number that came with every model you received in the packaging, and with the newer ones like Zoll, he didn't have it, so you don't even have to include every detailed bit of information. If they have a question and you're not really clear on the part that you need, they'll shoot you an email and be like, hey, can you send us a picture, blah, blah, blah. And then you just get back to them, and then they still just send it on over, no problems.
Yeah, no problem at all.
It does take a little bit of time. You got to be patient.
About a weekish.
Yeah. Like, you're not going to get your parts in time. If you're going to a tournament that weekend and it's Monday morning, you're not going to have the parts for the model.
Or if there's a big convention going on, like Gen Con or something like that, could push you back a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So let's, since, talking about some modeling tips, let's go about some modeling supplies. I prefer X-Acto blades when it comes to my bladed instrument.
That's what I use a lot too.
Just standard number 1 X-Acto blade with titanium blades. That's my favorite ones. They last so much longer. You pay a little bit more for it, but they are a sharper cutting instrument.
Okay.
Yeah, is that the one that I was using? Yeah, those are really sweet. I use the, just if you really just want to go super cheap and it's still effective, the more economical route, you just go to Walmart for like $3. You can buy a multi-pack of those extended little razor knife.
Oh, the little extended knife? Yeah.
With the snap-off blade.
It has a snap-off blade. They're over in hardware, so they're either red or yellow handle, and it just has
slider.
Just one slider.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you can make the blade 6 inches.
Yeah, and then you don't have a thumb.
Yeah.
And I really need to be careful.
And here comes that flash, no thumb. Yeah. I just took off my thumb flash, so that's no good. So another good option is the X-Acto kit. They make a nice kit with like a lot of different little kinds of X-Acto blades. So I guess if you're trying to get like a hard to reach thing, they make curved tips or something like that. Yeah, they can be handy.
They're kind of like niche uses.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, they kind of
dangerous.
Yeah, it could be. Now, if you're a terrain maker though, that's a whole different story. Then you would want something like that.
Yeah. Another thing too is the little clippers. They kind of look like toenail clippers,
those are jewelry clips.
Yeah.
The little jewelry clips you can find over there.
Those are pretty handy a lot of times.
Flush cutters. That's what they're called.
Cutters?
Flush cutters.
And files too.
Oh, files. Needle files, preferably. Preferably diamond coated needle files. You can find a diamond coat set at Lowe's for about $18. You'll get 6 diamond and 6 normal.
That's pretty good.
So, and I think it comes like a little kit too. It comes like a little bag. You can put your kit, roll it up, put it in your storage.
Nice.
It's good stuff.
Plus, tools are just always handy.
Yeah, tools. Any kind of tool. I even use like crimps. I use a lot of locking pliers sometimes.
I'll use a lot of dikes and linemen, side cutters. Since I'm an electrician, I have all those tools already.
Yeah, might as well use them.
Yeah, especially for pinning to hold, because I've stabbed my when you get under the fingernail when you're pinning a model. Oh man, that hurts. That gets you.
You prefer the Dremel way
I like
with your
Dremels.
pinning, and I'm more of a hand drill kind of guy, standard pin vise.
Yeah, pin vices. Yep. Yeah. I just don't have the patience to sit there with because I get frustrated really easy. So if it doesn't just start,
and you play Scorn,
driving through the model, I'm just like start smashing stuff. So the Dremel, I'm just like, it gets done super quick.
I've not really had to deal with any of that.
Yeah. I had so if you haven't noticed, one of the guys that I sold you has a pinned orb. Did you know?
Above him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to pin one of his orbs. I was like, oh, it's broken.
When I first started putting models together, I never used to pin any of them. But then once you start getting little pieces that break off, like arms and stuff like that, you start to be like, oh man, I got to do something. I'm sick of this guy's sword falling off, or
like
his hand.
The defender's arm.
The defender's arm. Oh yeah. He like fell on the floor, arm smashed off. I'm like, well, we got to fix it.
Yep.
Yeah, and pins make a big difference. They sometimes, depending on how deep you're pinning, you do the pin. You'll still get a little bit of like the model, the arm, say was an arm, it will still like maybe rotate a little bit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like pull off as easily as it would without that little extra little piece of security in there.
I just use paper clips for my pins.
Yeah, that's what I use.
If you want to go like super expensive, you can use brass rods. That is an option. And they do come in a lot of different sizes too. So brass rods are sometimes the option if you're trying to get really small, delicate pins, or maybe some thick pins too.
Yeah.
Like Iron Fang Pikeman before the plastic kit, which the plastic kit's amazing. But the old metal kit, brass rod, all of those guys, they just need it.
I've heard horror stories about that.
So let's talk about some glue for a while, because that's a necessity.
That's really important.
I'm a big Gorilla Glue guy personally. And I like the liquid Gorilla Glue, and I believe you like the gel.
I really like the gel. Yeah.
I've never tried the gel out or anything.
You have to shake it up before you use it, and I like the gel because I'll lay out all the pieces for a model as I'm putting it together, and I'll say I'm doing arms. I'll do a dab of glue on each arm, and I'll do that for, if I'm doing a unit, I'll do that for 20 arms, and I'll just go down and I'll put dab of glue on each. Then I'll come back to the first guy, and I'll put those 2 arms on. So they've had a little bit of time to set up, but the gel dries slower. So by the time you get back to it after
it almost seems like the gel's more of a contact setting.
Yeah.
Instead of
just a
dry air.
Yeah. So by the time you get back to that first guy, you just pop it on, and it's set. It's kind of started to set up. You can hold it on for a couple seconds, and then you can put them down, good to go, move on to the next guy.
And me, I'm more into the liquid stuff. So I want my stuff to be, connected as soon as possible. So I'll take one piece, glue goes on this side, I'll lick the other side, and I put it together. And it creates nearly an instant bond. And that's how I put almost all my stuff together.
Nice.
I'll also use Zap-A-Gap from time to time. Zap-A-Gap's a more expensive route, but if I find it on sale somewhere, I usually pick it up. But you can make a mess with Zap-A-Gap if you're not careful, because it is really liquidy.
Yeah, I've had really minimal use, but in the time that I have used it, it's just like
yeah, you have to be careful with it.
I might try out this gel, but what's this Zap-A-Gap?
Okay, Zap-A-Gap's more of like it's more of a modeler's glue. So like car modeling and stuff like that, airplane modeling. They usually use Zap-A-Gap more often for like in-field repairs and stuff like that. That's usually what you use is Zap-A-Gap. And a lot of people use Zap-A-Gap accelerant. I would never suggest using accelerant unless you just want some really brittle models.
Super brittle.
Yeah, like I use the little licking technique as almost like a little bit of an accelerant because I want my shit just put together. But it's not like, just going psh, 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 it's accelerating the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're planning on maybe selling the army later on or doing maybe a commission piece, it's just not worth it. That kind of brittleness thing.
Yeah, you get unhappy customers that way.
Very much so.
So yeah, what goes along once you've got your models together? What do you want to do with them? You want to put them on the table, and you want to start a game. So what kind of?
I thought it was going to paint.
Oh no! I don't give a damn about the optics aspect. So
well, actually, what you do is start playing.
You start to play, and You just do like what we've seen in our meta before. You just pile a bunch of stuff on a base and scoot it around.
yeah, that's true too. After a couple games, you kind of realize, oh man, these guys look. When you play against people that have fully painted armies all the time, and your guys are just primed, which a lot of mine are. You start to be like, oh, maybe I should throw some paint on these guys.
Right.
So yeah, that's another thing that you kind of want to get at the early on in the beginning. And one thing, primer, super important. I tried to paint the very first unit I tried to paint. I did without priming it, and man, those guys just came out terrible. I ended up having to strip them and repaint them all.
What kind of primer do you like to use?
I really like the it's only like I think it's like $3.50 a can, something like that, for a big, I don't know, whatever standard size spray paint can is, 16, 20 ounces, whatever it is. And it's just you get pretty much any color you want. There's black, gray, and white, and it's just a double coat.
Is it the
primer.
double coverage Rust-Oleum?
Yeah,
that's what I use.
Yeah,
This double coverage Rust-Oleum.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'll let you guys have too. It's a big can. Like, if you're priming correctly, like, boop, 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 you're done.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really easy.
But yeah, I just lined my entire army up and went spun them around.
Spun around, hit the other
There
side. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of, when it comes to priming, a lot of people have kind of like a, they have some misinformation where you think that, oh man, you have to have every single thing primed. That's not necessarily true. Get one nice coat of primer on it and it's good enough. Mm-hmm. Your primer does not need to be like fingernail thick. Yeah. It just needs to be a nice thin coat.
Then you don't want to destroy some of the details.
All the details
exactly.
are gone.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
I kind of like just barely getting that thing on there, so you can. It doesn't really make it that big of a difference.
Right.
You
I mean, this is a more of an advanced technique, but if you do later on down the road decide to buy an airbrush, priming becomes so much easier than airbrush because you're already there. You're going to airbrush everything anyway. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So you pretty much use exclusively P3 paints, right? Yeah,
that's been the biggest one. They're kind of easy to find for me, but I really like the color range. I don't paint in the standard studio schemes that you see all the models. I like to do my own colors, but P3 paints I like a lot. You don't have to add a whole lot of water to them to water them down. They don't come out of the bottle too thick. You just shake them up pretty good amount. Maybe put like a little dab of like maybe dime size on your little palette, and then maybe 1 or 2 drops of water off of the top of your paintbrush, maybe, and mix that up, and that's just about the right viscosity you need. They come out pretty nice, for at least in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, that's.
You've been using kind of like all of my doubles.
Yeah,
I kind of just sent you all of my doubles.
I don't even really look at which ones it is. Like, maybe that's bad, but I'll look at it. Like, I'll just be like, I like this color. Take it out and then mix them together.
But you have both dropper bottles and pots. What do you prefer? Do you prefer the droppers or the pots?
I really like the pots.
Really like the pots?
I really like the pots. Yeah, just dripping out just a little tiny bit, or even just if I just want a little bit of a color, just dipping the paintbrush down in a little tiny bit, closing it back up, and going on with
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Personally, me, I've used so many different paint lines. I own 4 entire paint lines. P3 is a great way to start. Yeah, it is a lot of paint. If you want to do like a studio color, or you like a studio color like scheme, but let's say you like Scorn Studio Colors, which is mostly reds and golds, but you have Signar and you're like, oh man, I really want to be red and Signar, just buy this Scorn Studio paint, which you get I think isn't it 8 paints, or is it 6? It's 6.
I think you get 6.
It's 6 paints, usually a metallic in there, 1 or 2 metallics, a flesh tone, and then usually your 3 layers. So you'll get your Scorn base, your shadow, and your highlight.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And usually those are about $12, I think.
Yeah, 12 to 15, somewhere in that range.
That would probably be the best way to start into it. If you're more of a Citadel paint guy, you can also buy a Citadel paint set. They're less attuned to whatever faction you have, but maybe it's good to play around with it. Plus, you do get some like little Space Marines in there if you want to like test out a color scheme.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's kind of neat.
I've noticed that because I've used Citadel a little tiny bit, mainly just their washes. I like their washes.
Oh, their washes are great.
Yeah. But they have a much larger
paint range,
color range
yeah.
than the P3.
P3 I think is 72 colors, I believe, around that.
And Citadel
might be less. Citadel is at least over 120, 140 probably. And then if you look at Reaper has a shadow, a highlight, and a base of every color in their range.
Oh wow!
So yeah, you can really get. And they have not only their standard range, they also have their high density range. So you can.
And which is this?
That's Reaper.
Okay.
Then you got Vallejo. Vallejo is also a good company to start with. Vallejo makes identical color matches to Citadel. So if you have like some sort of white that you can't find in Citadel, you can go over to Vallejo and they'll have the exact same color.
Okay.
They also make washes and they make good inks. I've had a lot of experience with their inks.
I'm gonna have to start getting into inks.
They're pretty cool too, yeah. Inks are really neat. And they're in dropper bottles. So if you don't have to do with the mess of a pot.
Yeah.
Because of the dropper bottle.
I use for anytime I try and do a little bit darker, I just drop like just one drop of that purple that's in the dropper that you have, and it just makes it look really good to me.
Oh yeah. And Vallejo also has their model color range, which is more of realistic tones. They have their fantasy range, which is their Citadel range. They have Panzer Aces, which is great military colors. So if you want say you buy into Kador, and you're like, I like the reds, but I don't really like the reds. I want them to look like realistic Russian army soldiers from World War II. Panzer Aces can give you those colors.
Nice, yeah,
It's really, really neat.
Yeah.
Then they have their airbrush range, which is their newest range.
Nice.
And I own that entire range, and I highly suggest it.
Yeah.
Not only out in using your airbrush, out of the pot, they're pre-thinned. Man, they go on so smooth. It's really, really good. I'm trying to think of other paint ranges that I use pretty much.
That's a pretty
broad.
Yeah. That's a wide spectrum.
One of the new guys on the block is Scale 75, which you probably won't see much of that here in the States yet. I think they're from Norway, but they make the best metallics I have ever seen in a paint range. They make the best metallics.
That's one thing I really appreciate is some good metallics. I do like that.
They're amazing. I have their whole metallic range except for their newest one. They just released coppers, and I don't have their copper range.
Are those the alcohol based or?
No, these are just standard paint pots. What I kind of like about them too is their pots are completely sealed, so the paint is not drying before you buy it. So you actually have to pop a hole in every one of your droppers because it's completely sealed.
Nice. That's pretty sweet.
And I like that. I like that as a customer, knowing that my pot hasn't been sitting there for
on the shelf.
On the shelf for days, and then just staling out.
Yeah. So long it's changing color. Even.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Oh yeah. It can be that way. So you guys want to talk about brushes for a little while? Like, what do you like to start off with?
I've always been a really the most expensive brush I've ever paid for has been like $10. And that's like for my 00 that I use for really super fine detail. And I actually need to get a new one pretty soon. It's about wore out. I've had it for about just shy of a year.
So you go to like Michael's or something?
Yeah, I'll just go to a little hobby store where they carry a wide range, and I'll just look for the sizes I want. And then I've spent like altogether I bought probably maybe like only $20 in brushes. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about. I'll let Andrew go next.
Well, the only one I've ever bought was from Walmart. It was like that just $10 pack of paintbrushes or whatever. But I kind of used them for a little bit, but I don't know if it was the paint didn't want to work right or if it was just me not painting well at that time. But Tyler. Friend, Tyler.
Tyler. Friend of ours.
A friend of ours. Yeah. He gave me just a whole set of paints.
Yeah, you had like a bunch of like lacquers and stuff.
Like
I was like, what? I was like, what are we, like 1976 again? Look at all these lacquers.
But I was looking through the box after I bought those paintbrushes when I bought them. I was looking through the box of all this just random crap he gave me, and there's all kinds of brushes down in there. I couldn't tell you if they're good, bad, or whatever, but they work for me.
All right. Then you go to me. I am the Winsor Newton Series 7 guy. I only
brushes.
I only use sable brushes. I spend roughly $15 to $25, maybe even $35 per brush. Although you can go on Amazon, usually pretty much all the time, you can buy a pack. It's like a gift pack of Winsor Newton Series 7 sables. Don't buy the miniatures, buy just their standard sable brushes. You get a 0, a 1, a 2, and a 3 for you can get them between $55 and $70, depending on what sale they're having, and that's the way to go. Because 4 brushes, I mean, 4 of them are really solid. Your number 3 is really good for like warjacks and stuff. And me, like you use a 00, I use a 1 or a 2 for all of my eyes and detail work.
Yeah.
My 0 actually is not used that much.
Oh, yeah.
I use it for pinpointing where I want my washes to go. So I'm like, oh, I really want a lot of wash down here on the bottom, so I'll just kind of move it down to the bottom.
Yeah.
But that's a good deal to go with. But I do have an airbrush and stuff like that. But that's a whole different episode.
It's a whole
that's you're dropping like a couple of $100 if you want to get an airbrush.
Yeah, because you got to get the brush compressor.
So we're gonna take a little break, and while we're taking a break, we have a great video brought to you by Giorgio about the Mountain King unboxing.
We got it's nice little goodies.
And we'll be right back.
Unboxing Glacier King! Alright, we good? Recording?
Yeah,
Let's
man.
do it? Alright, we got this brand new gargantuan, not even released yet, the Glacier King for Troll Bloods. So, and also we have this wonderful, lovely Easy Cut 2000. I'll be opening that with here today. It's a lovely thing, it's a retractable blade so you don't hurt yourself. Boxes? Sweet, whatever. Let's get on with it. So I have not even, the only thing I have out of this already seen is the card. So let's see how Privateer Press has done with, let's do the foam first. That excites me the most. Oh, double foam. Oh, here we go. Alright, let's set this to the side here. Let's take out some parts. What do we got? Alright, looks like we got, oh wow, that's like a bear pelt with the bear head still attached for the, looks like these,
doing like a handstand.
yeah, it's like this, what do you call it? Not kilt, but loincloth for the Glacier King. There's the other part of it there. Oh, there's his sweet grill. Got mad molds to have to cut off there, you see. Got those little bad boys. I hate those things. They're easy to remove though. Oh my god! His hands are bigger than his head. Let's do the side by side on that. Holy crap. That's one of his hands. Almost bigger than his head. Definitely bigger than his face. That kinda sucks. That's a little annoying. Gonna have to remove that crap. There's his missing fingers in each hand, so I guess we have to put those in. I wonder if they're glaciers. Here's a couple little glacier guys, probably go on his back. Ah, there's his bottom jowl. This one is resin.
No, that's metal.
Oh, metal. Yeah, that's right. The rest of it is resin. So far, everything except for that little jowl, all resin. There's little cute little Mount Glacier King feet. They're much smaller than his hands, by the way. Alright. There we got, here we are with the 2 fingers that are missing on each of the hands. That's good. This kind of reminds me of the little satyr flutes that he got. Clearly not, though. I don't know where that goes on him yet. Got some nice runes etched into him. That'll be fun to do some stuff with. And then, yeah, it looks like we got a couple more similar things just to that. They kind of go along match those two little, or that one little guy I just pulled out there. He's got some nice detail in him. More runes, little trinkets and stuff. Looks like bone parts of the Glacier King may have killed for a meal to make that loincloth he's got. Yeah, this just looks like a bone of something. I don't know. We'll have to find out where that goes later. We'll see. This looks like trash, but it's not. It's very tiny though. It's another bone. That one's kind of really hard to see. Not really a whole lot to it. And we got one more little glacier. Little glacier ice spike there. Going on the top of the Glacier King somewhere. Alright, so we have yet to reveal his core. Let's see here. What else we got? Got that sweet base that you can never pick up off the table. The most difficult thing to get off the table without a model attached. Ooh, there's a nice little tiny little tidbit to add in later. Alright, let's see. See what we got under here. There it is. There's the bad boy. There is what makes that is the King Glacier for the Glacier King. That's really nice. Got a lot of detail to it. Really sweet. I like it. Heavy too. Oh yeah, there's his big beefy arm. The first one right there. I like it. All veiny. Oh, he's all veiny and just bulging. Ready to destroy something with that Mat 5. He's gonna wreck. Well, it's alright. If he can survive you getting to him, you will be knocked down because you kind of want that animus up.
Stationary.
Yeah, yeah. And he doesn't need anything but Mat 5. And finally, the best part. We got the main body, the core of the Glacier King. He looks very stubby without his legs being put on yet. Oh look, he's got a butt. They actually molded a butt into him. They thought they actually wanted this to be anatomically precise. Very nice. And he's got all kinds of sweet little details on him. Yeah. So that is your Glacier King. Pretty awesome looking model. Really happy with it. Not a whole lot of cleaning to have to do, it looks like. Just those couple little things and mainly in the stuff from the beginning. So here is all the parts once taken out and everything. Let's see if I can get one shot of everything here. So you can get an idea of how many pieces you're going to be involved with once you start putting this guy together. Really not too bad. He is not Nis Hunters, that is for sure. I bet he goes together really smoothly. Those fingers. So all in all, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 pieces, it looks like, to assemble the Glacier King. So that is not too bad, not too shabby at all. I think he'll be a fun one to put together.
Thanks a lot, Giorgio, for that in-depth unboxing of the Glacier King.
Yep, I've been waiting. I've been so hard to hold off putting that.
Yeah, I know you bought it. It's been like a week.
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
I was glad to get that out. I was like, oh, wigging as I was going through it. It was nice.
Your hand just kind of.
So yeah, so we can get straight into starting games. Kind of seeing little things we were talking about with as far as like the expo nice on the Glacier King there. Mm-hmm. So now you've got all your models together, you got some of them painted, you got them on the table, and you're ready to play. What do you need to play? So some supplies that you might want to think about. One of the things, a good tape measure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I learned that you need to actually get a good tape measure,
Yeah.
or not just mess with the tip.
Not just mess with the tip of it.
Yeah.
I think minimum $5
Yeah.
for a tape measure.
Yep, you could do that.
Because usually the lines are done really, shown. I've seen some tape measures that people use that are like, maybe that's where the inch mark is.
Yeah, yep. You don't want those little, and you want a nice tape measure you can pull out at least 18 inches, maybe 20.
And no flexi tapes.
Yeah. Those flexi on the
flexi
table.
tapes. Like Taylor tapes. It's pretty common in other war games that people use Taylor tapes. But this game you cannot bend your measurement.
Right.
So, say in a normal tape measure, you're measuring from 1 to 10 inches. You're measuring in a straight line. Some people say they're going to run 10 inches. They'll be like, well, here's 5 inches. Now I'm going to bend my tape measure.
Oh.
And no, that's not how the game works.
No.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
And then you get those really, really flexible tape measures. They're not quite, and they just like, bleh, and you're just drooping it out. You got it out extended 12 inches, and you're just knocking models all over the place. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, sorry, bro.
Sorry, bro. Sorry to break that. Break that new Glacier King.
Yeah.
I don't know how it
his
happened.
ankles.
Maybe you should have pinned it.
Yeah, I suggest like maybe you probably don't need to, but maybe like one of those little 12-foot tape measures. They're like maybe that big. They're not very large at all. They fit right in the palm of your hand. They're nice. The ones with the buttons that you press to release the tape, they auto lock as you pull them out. Those are nice. Those are handy.
I like those too.
So when you're done your measurement, you just press the button, scoop it up. Those are pretty sweet.
Those confused me the first time I picked one up. I was trying, just pulling it out, and then I'd hit the button and it'd try to go back in, or it wouldn't go back in. It'd just stay where it is, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
I can't tape measure this hard.
Can't tape measure this hard. So, what about the new widgets? Because I know Frontier Press makes the new ones.
I love widgets.
Used to, and they came in like late game with their widgets. Broken Egg and
they kind of let like everybody
Advanced
else
Deployment
on the market get in on it, and then they're like, oh,
and they're
you
like,
guys are all making money. We should make money.
But yeah, $8 for the normal widget set. They also sell the AOE rings in 3s, 4s, and 5s, and a 4-inch AOE ring is something that is hard to find.
Yeah,
so
there's not very many of them.
Was it just this stuff?
Well, a lot of our rings are actually made for leatherworking, and the 4-inch ring is very rare. Like a lot of people don't use them, so unless you're a War Machine player.
and what do you get in the packet you were talking about? Do you get the 253?
You get the 2.5. You get the 2.53, the standard widget. So it has a 5-inch, a 2-inch, a 3-inch, and then a 1/2 inch on the end of the handle.
Those are nice.
And then you get the 3 blast template widgets. So normally, when you hit someone with a blast damage, you take out your AOE ring, and then you place it over the model, and then anything under the ring gets hit. These, if you directly hit them with an AOE damage, you can just be like, oh, well, that's a small base, and it's a 3-inch AOE, so I'm going to take out my 3-inch AOE widget. It will say small base on the side, and then you just kind of put it next to base space and be like, oh, well, okay, well, this one got hit. Oh, this one's just out.
Yeah, all the guys that it touches are under the AOE.
Yeah.
And then you're not looking down on it. Like if you're at a little bit of an angle, you might hit a couple more guys than you should, or vice versa.
Yeah.
That kind of thing can happen.
So look at it the wrong way and be like, I can't hit him. Then like, oh, I actually did hit him.
Yeah.
Now I lost.
Of a game of this kind of precision, something like that's it's very helpful.
And then I think they call them Idahos or something. The side with the 3, 2, and 5. Those are super handy because you got your Vengeance on the 3-inch. The 2-inch side is your Reach. The 1/2 inch is your normal melee, and then the 5-inch side is your stealth. Yep. So you got all those measurements.
And if you play Cricks, I use that for my walks a lot.
Definitely. Yep.
So
they're super handy. Another thing that you probably want to get right off the bat for all your, especially for Warjacks, War Beasts. Not so much on infantry, solos, and your warcaster. You want to go with card sleeves.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be the war room guy.
Yeah, if you're not going to be the war room guy, go with some card sleeves. I use penny sleeves, so just go to Walmart or your local game store. You can find a pack of like 100 for about $1.
Those work for me too.
Yeah, penny sleeves, man.
I like to go with the more heavy duty. I forget what they're called.
But are you talking about top loaders?
Top loaders, yeah. I like to go with the top loaders. I keep all my cards in those. They're nice. I like to have that nice little hard surface to write on, and it just keeps the cards nice and safe too. So I kind of like them.
Expo markers is another thing that you might need.
Yeah.
A lot of people cheap out on expo markers. Just pay the $3.
Yeah.
And get actual expo markers. They'll last you for a lot longer. Yeah. They'll be clear. They won't run. Just get the real stuff.
You won't have as many problems. But I kind of like. I'm considering of switching to wet erase markers rather than dry erase because I know they're a little harder to remove off the surface of your card. You do need some kind of wet something or other, but I just always have the problems. I use expo markers, but I always have the problem with the marker just not getting enough ink out onto my card, and I'll be marking damage, and all of a sudden, we're playing time turns or a death clock game, and I have to be like, oh, hang on, dude. Flip the clock over to me. I have to go get another marker because this one ran out of ink, in the middle of me marking damage or something.
That's not good.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of switching to wet erase myself, wet erase markers, because I've never had a problem. I only have one wet erase marker, but I've never had a problem with it. It's never dried out on me or anything. Yeah. I've been pretty impressed by it.
You want to take the next one?
Oh yeah. What's it? Rule book?
It's the rule book versus War Room.
The rule book versus War Room. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. It's completely gone. I'm thinking about the different markers I need to get.
He just got stuck on that.
Oh man, markers!
Expo, wet erase.
Markers.
Jeez, I feel dumb now. So the War Room's the little app you can download on your phone. Is our app
for phones or tablets.
Yeah.
And you have to buy each.
You buy a deck for $8, right?
Yeah, $7.99.
$7.99 a deck, or you can buy it in a chunk for $60. Buy all the decks.
Yeah, that'll give you everything.
And they always update, so.
Or you can just get the physical rule book.
Physical rule book.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool to have. I mean, if you're more of a collector kind of guy, you would want the rule book anyway.
Yeah.
It does have some really cool fluff blurbs in it. It has a fluff blurb for every faction. The fluff blurbs for the factions are pretty cool too because they're all speeches. So they're like a prominent leader, having a speech in front of their people. So they're really, really cool. They're like, oh, we will go and crush them.
Yeah, like a lot of the Scorn ones are from, at least in the Scorn book, Hexerus's perspective. A lot of it goes from him, which he's not a caster who gets a terrible amount of play, actually.
Yeah.
I kind of champion him a little bit.
You do?
Yeah. So.
And I don't like to see you. But I think the rulebook's a good way to do it because you do get all the rules. And of course, you got to turn pages. I mean,
I kind of bounce back and forth.
Yeah,
between them.
I mean, you kind of get both.
Whatever mood I'm in that day.
Yeah. Then it comes to your faction book. We call them the fluff books. And yeah, it will give you every model that's in the book, if you buy your faction book, up until Mark II came out. So you won't get everything. But you will get a ton of fluff. You'll get fluff for every unit. You'll get a little painting guide on how to paint, which is really cool.
It'll show you the studio scheme for your faction, and it'll give you step by step how to layer, what to do for each.
It even has some stuff in it too that you don't see in the other books. Like in Crix, it teaches you how to paint undead flesh. In the Signar book, it goes over leather extensively, like some leather and cloth. It goes over a lot of that kind of stuff.
Pretty neat.
I'll have to look into this.
It's pretty neat.
Yep.
Then you have the other fluff books, which are the expansion books.
Yeah.
So the newest one that just got released,
Reckoning.
It's just Reckoning.
Yeah.
It also has a fluff blurb, has everything. All your new units get their own fluff, and you get to read what happened in the storyline up until then. And you also get another modeling section. So useful stuff. Now, of course, all of the books are optional. War Room's optional too. The only thing that you have to really have are your cards
and all those
and the models.
All those are going to come when you buy a kit with whatever models are in that. They'll have the cards along with it, unless you get a mispack. But then you just send it on over to the
send them on up.
Yeah. and they'll get you taken care of.
Yeah.
I think that happened with my arcane gun mage or something. Like one of the cards was missing.
Oh yeah, you were missing the leader card.
leader card.
Yeah, the UA card.
The UA card, yeah, that's an important one. You kind of want to know you have. You can see through stealth.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of a need, kind of necessity. So let's talk a little bit about getting into the game. Like, okay, so okay, you're sold. You're ready to play the game. What army should I buy? What should I buy to get into the game?
Yeah, one good thing to start with is because they give you it's a very reasonable price. And it's a small, so you don't have to start. You don't have to be like, oh my god, okay, what do those guys do? You just get like 4 or 5 models in them. It's the battle boxes.
And if you do a little research, look onto PropStreetPress.com. Look for a local press ganger in your area because they would love to give you a battle box game.
Yeah. And you say, oh hey, I saw the Signar battle box online. Can we play that here? And they'll be like, yeah, sure.
Sure.
Or if they don't have that particular faction, they'll be like, okay, well, I don't have that one. Let's try this one.
They'll have between 2 and 4.
Yeah, they'll give you a nice little spectrum.
Yeah.
That's because that's the first couple of games.
Yeah, the first couple of games, battle box games, and honestly, when you're starting into this game, I would suggest your first 5 to 10 games be battle box games.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get down the rule.
Yeah,
so
some basic rules.
With a battle box, you're looking at about $50 MSRP, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You're going to get a Warcaster and between 2 and 4 Jacks, correct?
Yeah.
Or if you're playing Horde side, you're going to get a Warlock between 3? It's like 3 and or if you're playing Legion, I think it's 6.
Legion, you get a lot. You get the 2. I think you get
you get a Carnivian. You get 1 Carnivian
that's right.
and 4 Shredders,
Yeah.
so you get 5.
Yeah. Goes a
That's
little
a lot.
tenacity.
Those are little box.
Yeah. You get a bunch of little dudes that want to run around and bite, and 1 big old Carnivian.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they give you a nice little range, and you get the heavies in Scorn. Oh man, so good. The Cyclopses, I don't use the Cyclopses much. But.
So Andrew, you got the all-in-one kit, right?
Yeah, it's the 35 points.
Which is something that none of our meta bought into, so I'm kind of interested in your take on it.
That's the 35 point.
Yeah, you get 35 points.
And it all comes in one box. You get, like I said, 35 points.
You bought the Signar one,
I bought the
right?
Signar one, yeah. And I think that's probably what I would just, like you said, go to the press ganger in your area, play, like you said, five or so games, and then I would personally just buy the all.
If you can find them.
If you can find them, yeah. And you have the, was it $90?
It's between $90 and $130, depending on whether or not you can find it on sale.
Yeah, if you have that lay down at once, that's how I'm glad I did it that way.
So you get a 35-point army. You get 1 caster, usually 2 units, a few jacks, and a few solos. Usually,
I got 2 jacks, 2 units,
and the solo,
and
the journeyman warcaster,
and
siege,
yeah.
And they're really nice to start out with because you get all that stuff, but you don't have to put it all on the table right away.
No, right. you can start small.
Yeah, you can just build up. You can start with like the battle box level, just your caster and 2 warjacks out of that. Or 2 beasts, and then you can slowly. All right, today I'm going to add a unit.
Yeah, we're going to move from 11 points to 15.
Yeah,
I do really wish they came with just like even if it's just the base amount of tokens or something.
Oh yeah, they don't come with any tokens. I don't think they come with dice either.
No,
they do come with a neat starter guide that tells you how to
it's like
what to buy next.
And I think it had a little condensed rule book in it too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll give you a little bit of tips in there too, to how to run your army.
And what to buy next.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
So, let's talk about how you usually buy your stuff.
I'm usually like, I like to go to eBay to find everything that I get a lot of times. I'm just like looking for people who are unloading their army. And it does, oftentimes you'll end up with just like random stuff. But you'll get it at a really, really good price, and if you end up not using it, it's you usually got it at a cheap enough price that it wasn't a big
Sometimes
deal.
you can score big,
and
score some decent paint jobs out of it too.
Yeah. Like I got a nice gargantuan, the mammoth. I got paid $70, and I included shipping and everything.
And it was pre sculpted and stuff too.
And assembled,
and the tusks were off the table, so you didn't have to deal with any of that.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, it was nice. You can find little gems like that all over eBay. You just got to be willing to search for them.
You gotta.
I'm gonna have to start looking into that a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, it's a good way to do it. And not only can you buy your miniatures like that, you can also buy a lot of your supplies like that too.
Yeah.
Some people offload bags.
Yep.
Like that.
It's definitely going to be my next purchase. I don't. That one layer of foam is not enough.
It's not enough
anymore.
It's not enough. So now, if you want to get into the game, the last bit that we think about in this segment is if you want to get into the game fast and competitive. If you think you can get into the game competitive, now some people will buy something that we like to call a net deck, a net list.
Yeah.
So they'll go on to Discount Games Incorporated, or they'll just look and see what's been played recently, and they'll buy that list to the T.
Model for model.
Model for model. Now that is a proven list in tournaments to work. Now on the other side of that coin, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you.
It may not be your play style, and you don't necessarily know what that person was putting that particular, like especially with solos, they're one of the hardest ones starting out to figure out what's this guy's job, what's he going to do for me, because a lot of times you'll get them really far out ahead and they'll just go die, whereas in the more competitive players list, the person who designed that list, they say, okay, this guy needs to hang back, he's just going to he's going to take out, say, support, so he's going to hang back and kind of get up the board slowly, whereas you might be like running out, oh man, this guy's got he's rat 9. I'm just gonna go shoot stuff in the face with him,
And then he dies.
Yeah, and then he dies.
Exactly.
And then you're like, well, he killed 2 models. Oh crap! I paid 3 points for him.
Yeah.
And now a 1-point model killed him.
Yeah.
That was a horrible trade.
Or like I did, just throwing the storm wall in that one game. And
Oh,
you were
man.
just threw the bangs at him.
I was like, watch 7 points take out 20.
Yes.
And that kind of stuff hurts.
I felt
you.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I would never suggest a new player to net deck. There will be people out there that listen to this video and be like, that's hogwash, watch me.
Yeah.
And they will fail, because that's what happens.
And they'll come back and be like, you guys were right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you get a few months under your belt and you want to go competitive, start looking into some net decks.
And I mean, I've been playing for 2 months, or about 2.5 now, and I'm still not to that level yet.
And you know, what works for one person's meta does not work for another person's meta.
Yeah.
Like, it just is. So, sometimes net decks aren't the best option.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
they are out there if you want an all-in-one kind of cohesive army bundle. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, the big thing with them is just you kind of want to build up your familiarity with certain things, and if you don't have that when you start out with a net deck, it can really just fall apart on you quick because you just don't know.
Yeah,
what those
especially
guys
let's
are
say
doing.
you start playing like Kruger 2 or Bradigus first.
Oh yeah,
Like,
really
oh, man.
intricate models that you need to have an understanding.
Or Haley 2.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
someone that like, she wins, but can a new player really handle that much power?
Not me, I learned. Not me.
You will have an easier time if you net deck Cricks, though. You just will.
Yeah, Crick's net decks can get you a lot of stuff that's got a pretty basic understanding of the game to be able to master, and their units and everything kind of jive really well.
Yeah, they can be pushed forward around, and you'll score some wins by pushing models around the table with Cricks.
Yes.
Like I like Cricks. I would like to play them, but I don't like going up against them for that reason.
You're like, Matt could make a few mistakes here and still win.
Yep. Or you just kill one Bane and, well, now my whole unit's dead.
Oh no, I killed one out of each unit of...
Now you're getting vengeance on me, huh?
What is that? Another move.
So, we're going to end the podcast with our segment, Andrew's Enigmas. Andrew, what enigmas do we have today?
What
Yeah,
enigmas do we have? Okay, talking about, trying to get into the game, is there a faction that you think is like quote-unquote weaker than the others, or just less balanced than the others?
Mercs and Minions. I would never suggest someone to get into the game with Mercs and Minions.
Yeah.
And on a lesser extent, Circle.
Yeah, that one's with Circle you can really get good once you have an understanding, because order of activations in Circle is really important. So if you start out there, it's kind of hard because you're like, oh well, I want to activate this guy and he's going to go do that. Oh wait, but I needed to put this buff on him first, and he's already that kind of thing happens a lot in Circle.
Or, oh man, I'm going to teleport him forward, and I forgot to lightning strike. Or, oh no, I forgot to do this.
Yeah, and you end up getting your model killed because you were like, oh, I forgot these couple things first. Circle's a hard one, but once you master that stuff, you can get really good with it. It can be really strong.
And I say mercs and minions just because of the power level differences between them and the true factions. Mercs not so much, but to get into mercs, it's like a house of cards because you have all these solos or all of these things that kind of work together, and when you start picking them out, they just kind of collapse.
So
and
it's very hard to pick one without having its partner piece or something like that.
Yeah. And then you learn, you're like, oh man, in a 2-list environment, say I'm going to go to a tournament, oh man, I really need Aeon and Holt in this list, but they're not going to be in that one.
Now they can't go over there.
Yeah, or say you start combining in like a lot of solos, and you're like, man, what am I going to play? You know, like I guess I'll just put in another unit of Steelheads or something and hope for the best. And Minions has that problem because Minions is really a faction that's been split in half.
Yeah, between Gators and Pigs. Yeah, they don't really work together so much, so you have to build. Minions is almost 2 factions in itself, kind of, because you do get it split up like that, and then only the Gators will work with the Gators, the Blindwater Congregation, and then only the Pigs, the Thornfall Alliance, will work with other Pigs.
And Thornfall plays kind of like a weak Khador. And Gators kind of wants to play this weird, almost Crix game.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like they're weird.
They are weird.
They're a little weird.
Yeah.
But I would suggest a new player, even though that they look really cool, and they do have some of the best models.
They're nice.
To maybe think about that as a fun force.
Yeah.
Something to do later on.
Yeah. Okay. I think for the War Machine side, we did talk about mercs and everything, but I think one of the big boy factions that's kind of hard to get into too is probably Ret.
Oh yeah, Ret. Yeah, that's another good one.
Ret.
Yeah, a lot of their jacks aren't on the strong side, and they usually the only jack caster is what, Virus 2? Virus on a horse?
I think so, pretty much.
Yeah, and a lot of their stuff is very rules heavy. Like they have some really strange rules that no one else has, and they got weird force fields. Oh, and cock.
Yeah,
Convergence. Probably don't start with Convergence either.
Pretty limited amount of models you're going to get. You're not going to have the wide spectrum.
Yeah.
And they don't have access to the mercs like most of the other War Machine factions.
Yeah, unlike how every other faction's been released over the last 10, 12 years, everybody's gotten like a little dollop of units every expansion. Convergence had their entire factions dropped at once, and they're not expanding it.
So even though all the other factions are changing, they
do not.
They do not?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you play Crix.
I do.
You play
Scorn.
Yeah. I gotta say Khador. I'm like, that's not right at all.
Scorndor.
But if you had to choose like another faction, like if someone forced you to do it,
Forced me.
Like forced
so they're
you.
like, give me your toys.
Yeah.
You can have my toys.
And it's all our Crix. Which one would you go for?
I'll let Giorgio answer first.
Are we going to stay in the same system, or we just get to pick anyway, like War Machine or Hordes?
War Machine, Hordes, whatever.
Anything.
I would probably go with a War Machine faction, and I've tried Signar, and it's all right, but I think Crix is really more my playstyle because I just like melee so much. I'm not a real shooty guy. I hate to stand back and just shoot somebody and be way far away like Signar kind of wants to do. I like to get in there and just be like, all right, here, we're going to just battle this out. We got swords. Let's use them. Let's go. Let's do it. So maybe Crix would probably be the War Machine faction I would pick.
For me, I really like it when I play my wife's Legion, so I'd probably buy into more Legion and play my wife's Legion. I've played Khador in the past, and Khador will always have a sweet spot for me. But man, I do like to play Legion. I really do like to play Legion. I just wish they would make the models a little bit prettier.
Yeah.
I don't like ugly Legion.
Well, that's like you said they're bipolar. It seems like where it's really pretty and then
they are two art directors for Legion, and they don't get along.
No. They're like, oh, let's make this guy just like
grotesque.
Yeah.
And then some guy's like, oh man, I really want to make a really pretty dragon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just want them all to be pretty dragons.
And the other guy's like, no. No, we're not.
No, we're going to make a dragon with a giant bulbous penis. Oh, we'll make this dragon have like 20 penises coming out of his mouth.
Whoa. Okay, do you think there's any like unfairly loved or hated casters, like ones that are used more than they should be or less than they should be?
Oh, ooh, that's a good question.
I think probably, at least in Scorn, one of the... I don't know if it should...
Yeah, do you want us to go inside our faction?
Yeah.
Or just inside of our factions?
Yeah, let's go
okay.
faction. Yeah.
Inside faction.
I think really one of the casters in Scorn that should get played more is P. Hexy. Hexy 1. He's a ball buster, man.
He solves problems that your faction can't deal with.
Yeah, yep. He's got a map buff, which you don't see a lot of in Scorn. And he gives Vengeance out, which is sweet. You know, you take him with some units that already have Vengeance, and then you can throw Vengeance on another unit. And now all of a sudden you got at least 2 units with Vengeance out there. So you're like almost running your own Banes going. As far as the lesser, or the caster that gets more play and should get lesser, I think, I hate to say it, but because they're so good, the Makedas, I think
both the Makedas, all 3.
No, the first 2.
The first
The third
2.
one doesn't get as much play.
Man, she's so good.
She is really good. She might fit in one of those ones that needs to get a little bit more play, Makeda 3. But yeah, I think Makeda 2 gets played a lot, and Makeda 1 not as much as Makeda 2, but
you do still see her though.
Yeah. That Inspiration Scorn is pretty awesome, so I understand why people. I mean, you want to play a good caster.
Yeah.
You want to. It makes you competitive. That's what you do. You know, but she's just like a lot of people solved for the Makedas. So you don't want to. You know, you're like you bring somebody like P. Hexy who somebody's never seen across the table, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, what do you do? I need to see your cards.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of throw the player off a little bit. Like, it's true.
Yeah, or they have to rethink what they're gonna do. Like, oh, I'm playing Scorn. I'm gonna see Makeda. This is what I've got this and this plan engaged for that caster, and then all of a sudden it's somebody else. You're like, oh, I need to change things up here. You know, type thing.
True. Okay, for me, I honestly think that you see Crix is a toughie because Crix is like really good. Like people that play Crix, man, they play the power.
Crix. I can tell you right off the bat. For the overplayed.
Okay, shoot me. I want to hear your overplay.
Body and soul.
Body and soul.
But oh my god.
But I think that he's asking what makes them overplayed. Like, are they actually maybe bad?
No, not Denegra. She's not bad.
You do see Body and Soul. Denegra 2's Theme Force Body and Soul is probably currently in the current meta is the most overplayed thing you will see.
Yeah.
Look at Crix list, you're going to see her in it.
Yeah.
She is overplayed a lot, and I do believe that unless Crix can get out of that, I gotta play Body and Soul top mindset, that the player, like people are just going to start bringing anti-Body and Soul.
Exactly.
And you're gonna see her take a dive.
Yeah, that's what'll happen.
Just a nosedive.
Well, if everybody is teching against it, like, okay, this is what Denegra's going to do, I need to bring these things to stop her. And if everybody starts doing that and it just gets shut down, then
null her out. Then.
Yeah, you can't play it.
Something that I see that I never see in tournaments really. I'm gonna throw this one out here too because I've never played him either. I'm gonna say Gorshade 2.
No Venuthrax?
No Venuthrax.
You want to go Venuthrax?
No, I don't really want to go Venuthrax. I'm gonna say Gorshade 2. He is a hell of a dude spam caster. So you also though you play him in tier.
Ooh,
like he brings a ton of dudes. All of his, so you know how Tartarus kills a guy and then another Bane pops out of him?
Yeah.
All of his Banes have that ability.
What?
And that's what he does.
It's good.
His feat, what his feat does is like, okay, so you killed 10 Banes, right? Well, his feat says that he can turn models that's in his control area. He can eat those models and then add more Banes to the field. Well, it seems silly to eat Banes to add more Banes, so you don't do that. You bring Scrap Thralls, which you get 3 of them for 1 point. Okay. That stay in your backfield, and then you're like, oh, you killed 9 Banes? Well, I'm going to eat these 9 guys that I paid 3 points for and put out an 8-point unit.
Yeah. Solid.
I'd do it. Yeah. And just kind of, that's...
Yeah, it's... And you don't see him in tournaments very often. At least around us, around our area. Yeah. You just don't see him.
Do people just consider him too powerful, you think?
No. No, I think he's actually there kind of in the middle of our power levels. You also don't see Denny 3, but I think that's going to change pretty soon. But the Crick's hive mind is kind of poo-poo on the Denegger 3.
I don't know, man. I think she's going to, once she starts seeing play, she might, rise up some.
I think so too. Yeah. I think she's really good.
I think she's got some good options. I mean,
Jack Spam or anything.
Yeah.
Good options.
Even her stat line is decent. I mean,
Mad 8 Banes? Yeah. You want to deal with Mad 8 Banes?
Yeah. Well, she's good. I think she's solid.
Mad 8 Pal 13 Banes?
I don't even like thinking about that. Whenever you go into a game, is there anything that, like, what's your opponent doing that kind of either not really scares you, but just kind of throws you off going into a game?
You mean like maybe some are they trying to punk you out like your opponent trying to play some mind games with you?
Is either that or like you're looking and you're like, oh, did just the army, just looking at the army scare you or anything like that? Not really. Again, not really scary.
That can be really situational.
It can be.
Like if you're playing into a bad matchup.
Oh yeah.
Then you're like, oh man, like that storm wall is just gonna wreck through all my 1 point or my 1 wound models. Like you're just gonna throw out AOE covering fire templates. And I'm not gonna be able to get through them. I got no way to deal with that.
Colossals in general, if you're not ready for a colossal or you drop a list that does bad against colossals, can be very, very daunting. I mean, I'll tell you a colossal that always tilts me, and that's the Galleon. The mercenary colossal nearly always tilts me.
Is that the one that he was playing in that game that we watched?
Yeah, he's got the hook.
He has the hook, but because the amount of shots that the Galleon can get a turn is really daunting, and especially someone like me who plays a mostly infantry force. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't like it. Like it kind of gets me a little goofy. I don't like playing against it.
When you're not even having to hit a model, you can just deviate onto them and with AOEs and still kill 2-3 guys with blast
and he can get
damage.
6 shots a turn with it.
Yeah,
it's good. It's something about that particular colossal. I've always had issues playing against it.
Okay, I guess my last question for the day is what would you say the best game that you've played and or witnessed, and on the flip side, what was the worst game you've ever seen or played?
Well, oh man, the worst game I've ever seen or played was by me. Yeah,
it was my game.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, dude, I just made so many mistakes this one game, and it just like was what I just. It set me on tilt because I would do something and fail a roll or 2 or 3 in a row, and then I'd be like, oh damn, well I just lost that entire unit because I missed
5.
Yeah, something like that, something ridiculous, and then they get taken over and the next turn, but because I'm so upset, I'm so stuck on that. Like I should have just overtaken that entire side of the table. That should be mine. Like I should have nothing to worry about over there. But instead, I'm about to lose my whole unit.
So what? Just a coffee.
And so from then on, I just I forgot to do other activations. I forgot to put out buffs that I needed to, or different things like that. And it just snowballed. And it just kind of just wrecked me, and my whole army got tabled.
Yeah, losing and it doesn't even have to be that game changing. Like say I set in to kill a unit and I kill like maybe a quarter of the unit. That particular thing could tilt you, and for no reason. Yeah. Like say you have since your option A didn't complete its task. Even though you have option B, C, and D that can also complete that task, you're so pissed because option A didn't work that you just ignore it. And that isn't good.
No.
That isn't good for the game.
That's what happened to me the last game.
So so you want to go 2 worsts, then we'll do our best, or you just want to go straight to your best?
Let's do 2 worsts.
Oh, 2 worsts?
Let's get the bad ones out.
Okay, all right. I'll talk about Trainwreck. I'll talk about Trainwreck.
Right.
This sounds good. Or bad.
Okay, so in our meta, we have 2 particular players.
Yeah.
And both of them will not give you any takebacks, period.
Never.
Friendly games, whatever, I'll be like, hey man, oh no, I missed this. I missed moving this Bane in my Sea of Banes. Do you mind if I just run him forward?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Alright.
And we're back from our technical difficulty.
Oh,
So, best and worst games, right?
Yeah, so you're getting ready
Okay,
to
and I'm
tell your worst
talking about the
game.
Trainwreck game.
Yeah.
Trainwreck game, okay. 2 of our local meta people never give takebacks. Really serious about their games.
Yeah, they treat
And-
the casual friendly games almost like tournament games.
Almost like tournament games. Probably worse than tournament games. I even give people takebacks in tournament games.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. So, we were packing up, ready to leave one day, and I'm downstairs, ready to leave, and I keep seeing Giorgio running up the stairs, and I'm like, what's going on up there? So I go up there, and this train wreck of train wrecks is going on.
Meanwhile, I'm not even saying anything. I'm just running back and forth. They're like, dude, all right, I'll be right back. No, I'll tell you, I'll be right back. I gotta get over there. I just run back upstairs. That's where the game is going on.
And it's just the 2 players trying to kill each other turn after turn, but like halfway through they'll screw up and be like, oh, do you mind if I take back all of this stuff?
Oh god! Yeah,
and restart my turn.
2 or 3 activations worth, like just ridiculous amounts.
And I was like, they never do that for us.
And they're like, oh yeah, sure, go right ahead.
Go right ahead,
no
chum.
problem.
Go do that.
It was insane.
And it was just, I'm gonna fail to kill your caster, and I'm gonna fail to kill your caster, and let's do this for the next 8 turns.
Yeah, it was. There was 3 back-to-back failed assassination attempts in a row before, and then they just changed the game plan. They stopped going for the assassination. It got so ridiculous. They're like, oh, I just can't do it. Oh, well, let's move on. All right, well, I'm going to attrition you now. Let's move on to that.
I think the store closed, and they made them stop playing.
Yeah, they made them stop playing. The game never technically actually ended. They just the owner of the store was like, hey guys, I got somewhere to be. You need to wrap it up. So and then they just started packing up models. They're like, all right, well I think we both played that pretty good. is what they walked away with.
It was a hell of a train wreck.
It was bad.
So that's the worst game I've ever seen played.
The best game that I've ever seen played, that's a good one. You know what? I know exactly what it was. It was the finals round at a tournament that we went to, and it was Scorn versus Crix.
Are you talking about my game?
Yeah,
Because I was going to say that too.
Were you? I trumped you.
You know what? You go ahead and talk about it.
See, it was the final day of the tournament, and I didn't make it into because it was you had to qualify to make it into it. And I didn't make it into it.
I slid in on that first day on the skin of my ass.
Yeah, you got in though.
When was this?
This was back in January?
Yeah, I think that's when it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I didn't make it in, so I just watched every game that day. And so it finally gets to the final table at the end of the day, and I just watched the entire game. I sat right next to it. The table next to it was empty, so I got to sit right there, and I just watched the entire game from right there, game side. And it was 2 armies just wiping each other out, just back and forth.
Scar 1 versus
Epic Xerxes. Yeah. And it was just an all-out battle. Both armies just completely attrition down to almost nothing, and finally it was coming down to where it was all right. We just out attritioned each other. Now you got what left, I got what left. We got it. All right, it's caster kill time, and
He
so,
he left. He came in for a. I'm just going to grab this zone, and I'm going to sit in the zone. Make your caster come to me. And in the process of that, I really had no army left, except for Scar, Bangalore Tartarus, and like a quarter unit of Bane Knights.
Mm-hmm.
He killed all my Bane Knights down to one model, but in the process of doing that, he put forth all of his pain givers,
beast handlers. Yeah.
And
Living infantry.
because he done that, Tartarus walked up, threshered them all into to basically refilled his unit of knights,
His Bane unit,
and then the Bane Knights killed his caster.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah.
That was the best game I've ever played of War Machine by far.
It was a knockout.
It was
drag out.
it was like it felt like a pro wrestling fight. Like, we were just like, like, oh, here comes Matt off the top rope with a Bangalore Tartarus. It was so tough. It was like it. I say this a lot when I talk about that game. If you looked at the beginning of my turn 2, which he went first, I had no game.
Yeah, it was rough looking. It was bad.
It was really bad for me, but I pulled it through and won.
Yeah, and you almost like reversed it, like on that very next turn, going into it, and took so much back, and it was just like, oh my god.
And I never played Tartarus that far back.
Yeah,
but that's what won me the game was playing him really far back
up until the end there, and he was that clutch piece came in, and it was a great game.
So he literally just came in, killed every single one of the.
Pretty
there
much.
was like 5 of them, something like that.
Yeah, it refilled my unit.
He made them all
much.
back into Banes. Yeah.
Because he left that one Bane Knight alive. Yeah. It was.
Couldn't get that one guy dead.
It was tough.
Yeah.
So tough. But yeah, I think that was mine too. I mean, that's no lie.
It was good.
I've never played a game as back and forthy as that one.
Mm-hmm. Those are the good ones. They're the most memorable because you're so involved throughout the whole. Like I was involved and I wasn't even playing. I was like, oh my god, and I was just strategizing what I would do during each of their turns and with the different factions. And I was like, oh, it was good. It was a great game.
Yeah,
that's kind of like what the tournament I went to. When was that?
About a month and a half ago, probably.
Yeah, this is the game between you and Kapler.
I
was watching the match go down, and I was just like,
Asphyxious 2 versus Mad Dogs of War.
Ugh.
Yeah. That's my only real drop against Mad Dogs, man. Mad Dogs is hard to deal with. Asphyxious 2 kind of answers the questions, but sometimes, man, that many models can overflood me. So it really depends.
How'd it feel to play against Kador Banes?
Yeah, I know. Better Banes, actually.
Yeah.
Berserking Mat 7, Pal 13 Banes.
Berserk's so good, dude.
Yeah, really good.
Can't spell me, bro.
Can't, yeah. Like, well, guess I'll Balthal purge you. So is that all of your enigmas today?
that's all my new enigmas for today. Eventually I'll say the right word.
Eventually said it all right.
Yeah.
Eventually, you speak English.
Well, I think that's all we got for you. I hope you enjoyed the podcast or the vidcast, depending on what you're watching or listening to. And you guys have a nice day.
Adios.